Tempest podcast. I'm your host Ian. Today I'll be joined by Ezra where we discuss the classical but lazily finished Shakespeare play, The Tempest. Let's get a quick overview of The Tempest. So it's a play written by William Shakespeare about power struggle and the abuse of power, apparently. And it was originally never finished because Shakespeare got bored of writing it and kind of just stopped. Therefore, the ending isn't that good.
Now, to recap the play. Prospero, the disgraced Duke of Milan, is a wizard who fled to an island after being overthrown by his brother, taking his place as Duke, and he did that with his daughter Miranda.
At some point, the Duke of Milan, who is not rightfully the Duke of Milan, and several other nobles, including the King of Naples, are on a ship sailing near the island Prospero and his daughter fled to.
Now, Prospero, with the help of his enslaved spirit Ariel, summoned a storm to sink the ship,
which ends with all the nobles getting shipwrecked on Prospero's island.
Now, Ferdinand, the King of Naples' son, wanders off and gets captured by Prospero.
And in typical Shakespearean fashion, Ferdinand and Miranda see each other and immediately fall in love.
Now, Caliban, Prospero's enslaved creature, meets up with the servant of the Duke of Milan and his jester. Caliban declares himself a new master, and they all set off to kill Prospero.
Well, they were all drunk.
Yeah, they were all very drunk.
So then Prospero, at the end, gets rid of his magic and returns to Milan as the Duke, forgiving everybody. Ferdinand and Miranda get married. Sailor's ship that everyone thought was sunk is actually fine. And then everyone lives happily ever after, except Caliban, because Shakespeare decided he was done writing the play.
So, screw him.
The first question about the play is, how do these characters use their authority or the lack of it?
I'm going to say the biggest, point of authority here is Prospero's. He still very much believes he still believes he's the Duke, and he rightfully is, but he takes this as, he needs to be ruling over everyone, and as you can see in the play, it's constantly, he thinks everybody's below him. Just something you constantly see of it.
But for the lack of the power, you can see, the people who wanted to kill the Duke and take their place.
Yeah, there was a whole part of the play where a couple guys were just like, hey, why can't we kill these guys and just take the power from them? Because they felt like they were lacking in that authority and that power.
Power corrupts.
Power does corrupt.
Now the second question is, where do you see power struggles in our society today? Elections.
Ooh, yeah, that's a big one. Could we just put any government all over the world? Because it's constantly a power struggle. If there's someone in power somewhere in a country, there's going to be some form of conflict about that. I'm just saying this as an overgeneralization here, but I feel like there's very little to no countries out there that don't have a conflict with their government. You either have Republican or Democrat, left or right. It's this entire battle.
Yep. Two sides, same coin. And that coin is annoying.
And it keeps getting flipped. They don't stop flipping it. They just keep flipping it. And again, even if it's to the point of military coups, we have been seeing a lot in what is it, Niger? That's had it happen 7 times in the past 20 years.
Occasionally, that coin of annoying will be flipped on its side. I just not know where to fall. So I'm waiting to see what will happen if that eventually does happen. I don't think we have a good metaphor for what the center of the coin, the side of the coin is yet, but it's something. I want it to happen. It's going to be very fun to watch. But back to the Tempest.
Yeah, back to the Tempest. What's our next question?
How do people come into power?
Oh my goodness, there's so many ways. I mean, okay, first off, we got politics.
As well as just sole military might.
Sole military might, you're strong enough, people not really respect you, more just fear you. I think another one's just money.
Yep.
So, like, physical power, like, I definitely like Prospero's place, like, he seems like he has, like, powers of a god. And he also has, like, these enslaved spirits that just do whatever they want and can also have magic of their own. And so he's able to conjure up these storms, fix a boat just out of thin air.
As well as entrance people in a circle.
Yeah. We also, like, okay, so elections is another big one. Cheating their way up. Money.
Money. You buy power.
Yeah, you could just buy it. As long as you have the money there, it's just like, it's not really... As long as you have money, there's people who are willing to listen to you because that's all they want for the most part.
As well as you can just inherit power from a position, as we've seen with many monarchies over the years.
Many, yes. How many Kings James were there?
How many King Louis were there?
That's an even better question.
As the next question is, what are the effects of power imbalances in the real world?
Ooh. Effects of power imbalances in the real world. Well, I mean, I feel like this is a big one that's played out on the world stage. Like, let's just say different power. Like, we got Russia and Ukraine. I think that one's a big obvious one that everyone knows about.
As
Russia.
well as the new Israel-Palestine conflict.
Yeah, another perfect thing. You have this person or this one power, this country that has a lot more power than this other country, and they abuse this power in inflicting pain on the other. And now, as we can see, like, yeah, these smaller countries and or territories are able to hold up, but this power imbalance causes so much struggle to those that are involved in it.
Because people who want power are those who do not deserve it.
Another really good way to show the power imbalances is just the division of wealth. You can really tell your voice and its effect just by the amount of money behind it. Like, if you're just taking someone off the street, they have their voice, they're able to vote, but that's really to the extent of it. Now, someone up high who has the money can back political campaigns and help whoever they want to get into office. They have just that ability.
Bribe government officials, things like that. The next question is, who is affected by the abuse of power?
Anyone that's being ruled over by that power, I think is...
Yep.
I feel like that's an easy way of answering it, but it's also the truthful way of answering it. I mean, just going back to, like, Israel-Palestine, the abuse of power there, the invasion, everyone in the Gaza Strip has lost their access to water, heating, cooling, electricity, necessities to survive. So innocent people who have nothing to do with these two powers that are fighting each other are now struggling to survive, and they have nowhere to go.
We can also see this with the Russo-Ukraine war, with Vladimir Putin abusing his power over, the Russian government and the military, saying, hey, Ukraine used to be part of the Soviet Union, therefore we are allowed to invade you.
They believe it's still part of them. And that's the worst part. It's that one choice. He's abusing his power as a leader, which has led to his nation to becoming heavily sanctioned, one of the most sanctioned in the world. I think it's on to the level of, like, North Korea and, Iraq? But they're so heavily sanctioned that the people inside of Russia, who barely even knew about this invasion and thought they were just trying to fix something wrong in the world, now are dealing with rapid inflation and also very limited supply of many things that Russia needs to survive. I feel like another more general way if we just see the abuse of power is in governments. I'm just going to go from the American standpoint.
I remember what I was going to say. Because Russian propaganda said that Russia was invading Ukraine because there were a bunch of neo-Nazis there.
Oh, yeah, that whole thing.
Of course, Nazis are bad.
So that justifies invading a nation.
Yeah. And we can even see things like that with post-World War I Germany with their hyperinflation and massive economic crises where people would literally burn sacks of money because the paper the money was printed on was more valuable than
the money itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so crazy to see that. Is that after World War I or II?
After World War I. So after World War II, that was the denazification period.
Yeah.
And they put a lot of strict
Who knows
laws
what
on
would
that.
have happened if the Allies didn't help rebuild it. That could have been another repeat of what happened. What was that treaty? Treaty of Versailles.
Mm-hmm. Then, because Germany really they were just trying to help their buddies out. They were trying to help Austria out. But then they got blamed for the war and then bullied into becoming Nazis.
Yeah, I also feel like that's another very much show of who's affected by power abuse. Well, I mean, you have two big powers fighting each other, or you can just say sides in this, and you see the weak one, the last one standing, and you just dump everything on it. That's a historical way that can just show the abuse of power. Like, the bigger countries said, okay, it's everyone's fault here. Specifically, like a couple countries more than the others. But we're just going to take all of this blame and put it on one. You now have to make up for everything. And that's, I mean, if I don't know what abuse of power is, that's a pretty darn example right there.
Now, our next question here is, what are the effects of imbalance? Likely falling.
Yeah. A little unstable.
Such as the French Revolution. There was a major imbalance of power between 99% of the population and the 1% that controlled them. And so,
what do you think's gonna happen?
The French kingdom fell.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a joke about tripping and falling. It was a metaphor about falling nations.
Yeah, imbalance is going to always want to even out. If you think of imbalance on a scale, the scale rests at the median. And one of the best ways to just say the effects of it is that whatever you're doing to create this imbalance, you're just going to want to even out. And the side that's heavily feeling it on this scale will do anything they can to even it out again. And we can see that with wars. There's an imbalance of power, so someone uses that and starts fighting because they have the higher power, or we can put this for money. It's different things like that. It's whenever there's that imbalance, someone can take advantage of it, but you always have to be aware that the imbalance is going to want to even out eventually.
And our next question here is, how have people you know been affected by the imbalance of power? Or how have you abused your own power? We can see this with people like my mother, who, when her coworker was sick, she works at a real estate company. She has to do tons of closings and such on properties. One time her coworker was out for a long time, so she got dumped with her work as well. So now she had to do all this work and was super was stressed out about it, and she absolutely hated it. And then people just kept, like the people above her just kept putting more and more work on her, and she absolutely hated that.
Yeah, that's a unfortunate thing, and I hope that all resolved out well for her.
And I have abused my power as an older sibling.
Oh, yeah.
And
I don't think any older siblings are not guilty of that. I can assure you that.
to abuse your power as the older sibling to maybe, have something go your way. But I usually abuse it to get more days home alone because I love being home alone. And I do not want to have to watch after my younger siblings while I'm home alone.
Yeah. And also, like, hey, maybe it's just something small, like what TV show you're doing that night. You take ownership and think you're the one in power there, so you do it your way.
Alright, so our next question is, how should people in power use their authority? I say they should use their authority to give the power to me because I most definitely deserve it. And I'm amazing and spectacular.
Yeah. You heard it one in here. Ian's our next president. Thank you. Or world leader. Who knows?
Yep.
In all honesty.
Braybrook 2028.
Braybrook 2024. Excuse me.
Shoot, we do got elections next year.
Oh, no. Election time is coming up.
A very political
6th grader?
second grader, actually. Because everyone in my class was like Hillary Clinton back in 2016. And everybody got mad when Trump won. And then back in 6th grade, we were highly political 6th graders.
Yeah. Well, also you see that 4-year jump. That's the next election that happened.
Yeah. So it's like representations of your body.
Yeah.
And that now in sophomore and the start of junior year of high school, we get to go through another one of those.
Yeah.
So we get a sequel to the election where Trump got thrown out of office.
We're going to see how that goes.
I'm hoping that the third installment of this series is as good as the other two, but based on patterns in typical movies, that's likely not going to happen.
Yeah. Unless your dream works.
Or Bungie.
Okay, moving back to the question, how should people in power use their authority? Now, I think
Use it wisely.
wisely is a good way, but I also feel like we need to... What we talked about earlier was the imbalances of power. People in authority need to give up some of that power. I think that's the main thing. There's going to be an imbalance most likely when you come into power, and I think the best thing that you can do as a person in authority is to try to lessen that imbalance, like try to even it back out. Even though that you're the person in the decision-making role, you should try to give power back to the majority.
Always have the majority in the mind when you have that power, and things will go well.
Try not to be selfish with choices.
Which naturally leads into our next question, and final question. How can people in power make sure it doesn't go to their heads?
That's a hard one.
Yep. How about we don't elect stupid people as president?
Yeah. Or there was another idea about the fact that what Ian brought up earlier was people who are seeking power have this kind of void inside of them in which no one may ever have enough power. And if anyone listening to this has listened to my other podcast, I talk a lot about this. But their power is kind of like just a hole within you that no matter how much you get, just like money, there will not be enough. you constantly are searching and trying to get more and more of it, but no matter what you do, you cannot fulfill that. And that's what we see with a lot of politicians. It starts with this hunger for power, and they keep getting more and more, and they keep trying to push their position up, and their only goal is to get more power, not what's in the interest of the people. So the best way that we have to fight against this is to find people to elect that don't have this necessity for power. We need to find the people that are not necessarily looking for the strongest position where they can get the most power, but the people who are trying to make the biggest impact for the people.
So yeah, I do agree with that. It was like with our last question, I said, you gotta keep people's interests in mind. Because if you're constantly thinking about other people and using power to benefit the whole, then everyone gets a raise, not just you.
Yeah. I found a great quote here by Plato. I mean, this man has so many great quotes from him. But the one I have right here is, only those who do not seek power are qualified to hold it. And again, that's from Plato. And it's just completely bringing up the fact that we need those people who have ambition and are trying to make an impact to do the right thing, not the ones that are looking for the highest job, like presidents normally. They're business people. They're looking for more power, looking for a better deal. And that's not what we want to lead a country or to lead in general. We want someone who's passionate about what they're doing.
We want a leader, not a boss. Anyway, that's all for today on the Tempest podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Ian, joined by Ezra.
Hello.
And I would say see you next time, but it's very likely that we'll never see us again because this is a one-time thing for a school project.